السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Thank you, SS MID Jeddah, for this excellent arrangement, amazing talks, and distinguished speakers. Actually, I enjoy it. I learned a lot. And today, inshallah, we will present a very interesting talk that maybe every single hospital suffered from the Candida auris. So where do we stand in terms of Candida auris? Today, we will talk about Candida auris in general. We will touch base with the epidemiology facts and local and global information, and why we should concern about Candida auris, the management choices, and is there any pipeline antifungal? And finally, we will conclude with the strategies that will help to contain the outbreaks. Let's start with the fungal classification. Four major classes: the dermatophytes, yeast, mold, and dimorphic. We will concentrate on the yeast, especially Candida species. Before that, we need to know or make sure everybody, we are on the same page for the colonization and infection. Colonization, it's only that you have the organism only on your skin, gut, oral cavity, genitalia, etc. But the infection, it means that you have the organism and it causes signs and symptoms that relate to the infection. So different species of Candida we have. Everybody aware that Candida albicans signature sensitive to fluconazole, while the Krusei, Candida Krusei, intrinsically resistant to fluconazole. So not all Candida are the same. Also, we have Candida lusitani that resistant to Bolin group, the amphotericin, while the Candida auris resist to both the azole and Bolin, while the echinocandin still work with Candida auris with some limitation. So you need to pay attention about Candida if you deal with Candida. Back in 2009, the first case were diagnosed or identified in Japan from one of the patients who had external auditory canal infection. Since it was taken from the ear, and the auris is the Latin word for ear in ancient Latin. So that's why we give the name of Candida auris because of the ear. And this doesn't mean Candida auris only stay in the ear. No, it can affect any organ on your body. So after that, in 2011, the Korean also in Korea, they declared that 15 cases, 2013, India, South Africa, Venezuela, even Kuwait. And by the way, Kuwait is the first Arab country who announced that Candida auris is there. And after that, in 2015, the UK outbreaks raised the attention globally, and the CDC came to classify Candida auris into 4 clades. The clades initially was East Asia, South Asia, South Africa, and South America, based on the cases where the distribution of the cases. In 2016, the Americans recognized that they had 6 cases or 7 cases back to 2013. It was misidentified at that time in 2013, but in 2016, after all this information, they restudied that cases and they discovered it's Candida auris, and it was spreading everywhere. So after that, in 2017, around 100 cases of between colonization and true infection in US, and etc. In 2019, I believe maybe more than 30, 35 countries all over the world announced that Candida auris is there. So worldwide, we have more than 40 countries now. This is the latest update. more than 40 countries worldwide who had outbreaks of Candida auris. And COVID had a very, very strong implication with increasing the cases of Candida auris, maybe because of a prolonged stay in the ICU, maybe because of the misuse of the antibiotics of overuse, maybe because of the awareness and they are looking for something serious like Candida auris by screening. I'm not sure, but the cases are almost doubled after Candida pandemic. Here in Saudi Arabia, locally, the first case was back in 2017. It was diagnosed in King Faisal Specialist Hospital in Riyadh. And also, at the same time, there were 2 cases in the eastern region, King Abdullah City, King Abdullah King Fahad Specialized Center in Dammam. Initially, it was misdiagnosed as Candida hemiloni, initially. Then, when they do the sequencing, they found this belonged to the South Asian clade, and it was sensitive to the Mica fungin. So after that, during the last 3 years, the Saudi, the Ministry of Health announced that the number of new Candida auris cases increased by 14 folds during the 3 years, only the last 3 years. So we need to pay attention for the Candida auris. It's a real threat. The majority of cases were from the central region, followed by the western region. For all this information, the WHO lists Candida auris as one of the fungal priority pathogens. So it became as a global threat, and we need to work wisely with Candida auris. There is some hypothesis. As you know, the global warming increased the climate temperature. This forced the Candida auris to become thermotolerance and travel with the avian to a rural area where the human and animals became close contact. And after that, the human became colonized with Candida auris. Whenever anyone colonized with Candida auris visit the hospital or healthcare facilities, they will spread the infection there, and the facilities became contaminated, and the infection will spread. Why we should concern about Candida auris? Many things actually, but the 4 important things is difficult identification, being multi-drug resistant, and carrying high mortality rate with causing a lot of hospital facilities outbreaks. Identification, similar like other Candida auris, other Candida species, it grew on blood agars and subculturing with sabroid agar, but differentiated from other species since it can tolerate high temperature, like 40 or 42 Celsius, and also it can grow in the chrome agar. So on the chrome agar, the colonies became either pale violet or pink, as mentioned here. If you want to do a rapid investigation or identification, and you want to be accurate while dealing with Candida auris, you need to use the MALDI-TOF. MALDI-TOF is the investigation of choice. If you didn't have it, you can use the PCR or you can use the chrome agar. But if your lab using Vitek or microscan, please don't confuse with Candida hemiloni. And this is the Stanford and the CDC guideline that mentioning the definitive identification method by MALDI-TOF. And if you use Vitek, please make sure to not misidentified with Candida hemiloni. Why carrying high mortality rate? Because two issues actually. First, which clade we have? if we have any southern clade, like Southern Asia, Africa, or America, this pay very high mortality rate because of the banned drug resistance or the increase of resistant profile. Also, if you have infection in the bloodstream, like candidemia, this carry very high mortality rate. So in 2023, the CDC mentioning that Candida auris, bloodstream Candida auris hospitalization more frequently involved the central venous catheter and tracheostomies. If you are patient with these, please, any Candida, make sure this is not Candida auris. In the hospital settings, Candida stay everywhere, literally everywhere. So you need to make sure that you are doing massive screening and you are doing a deep cleaning and following a very strong infection control measures. As all of us know that Candida need contact precaution, and it's disseminated by contact with contamination surfaces. And if the patient colonized with Candida, he can spread the infection to others. It can stay over the surfaces, whatever, dry, moist, or even plastic. It can stay maybe 7 days, 14 days. I read some resources mentioning 28 days can stay there. And believe or not, I read some resources mentioning 3 months. So it's a real potential significance of environmental contamination. Here's some examples. In UK, back in 2018, outbreak in the ICU, the Candida auris bloodstream infection found in 9 patients, while more than 40 patients were colonized with Candida auris, and the main transmission was contact between infected and non-infected patients. Other example, contaminated armpit thermometer led to a large outbreak in UK hospitals. This is in Chicago back in 2017. Just I want to pay attention for the March 27, 2017. It was only 1 case, the prevalence 1%. 9 months after, no infection control measures, they didn't work wisely with that case. The prevalence became 43%. 9 months. After 1 year, the prevalence became 60%. 1 year from 1 case. So please deal with Candida auris wisely. The risk factors, any prolonged stay in the ICU, as what happened in COVID, for example, if the patient colonized with other MDRs, if we have any active outbreak in the facility, if we have the patient with indwelling medical devices, or if impaired system host, or if we use or misuse the antimicrobial, especially antifungal. So this is what I mentioned in the clades. Any south sharing the same bad resistant profile. What medication we can use? Look at the fluconazole, sensitivity only 20%. So it's out. Boline, like amphotericin, it's almost 40%. We can think about as alternative. And echinocandin, except caspofungin, maybe work well. So if you want to choose one, you should start with echinocandin. Mainly, you better to avoid the caspofungin, but still depend on what you have susceptible medication. If you want some alternative, you can still think about amphotericin and voriconazole, not fluconazole. But again, please make sure it's susceptible. Some facts, recently the risk group are increasing, the resistant pattern are increasing. Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of medication that tackle the Candida auris. Hopefully, last 3 years, we have some antifungal pipelines. We have fosmanogib and ibraxofengrib. These two novel groups of antifungal, which had a very good oral bioavailability, so you can take the medication orally. And we have azole group, one obliconazole. It can be given inhaled. And we have a echinocandin group, a new medication, risafungin, which is IV medication, can given once weekly, which is amazing news, actually, with a very good resistant profile. So how can we deal with MDRs? If we have MDRs, how can we containment? What's the containment strategy, actually? We, as clinicians, have the main role to rapid identify any infection like MDRs, like Candida auris. After that, we should announce this threat to the infection control colleagues to start the assessment. After that, they will do colonization screening, and then they will arrange and coordinate the response between the facilities, the different facilities in your area. And after that, this is not the finish or the end of the game. No, you should to continue doing assessment and screening. Hand hygiene, essential. Everybody should stick to hand hygiene. If you want to isolate the patient, put him in a single room, and please apply standard and contact precaution. If your patient Arabic, put the sign in Arabic language. If he's English, if he's Urdu, whatever language of the patient, put the sign in his language. Also, please do your PPE wisely. It's your arsenal against the MDR bugs. So please be a good friend, a close friend to your PPEs. Try to use it wisely. If you want to transfer the patient from area to other area, strictly follow the protocol of infection control. And if it is possible, keep this patient as a last case. For example, you will shift him to the CT, for example, keep him as a last case, something like that. If you want to use a medical equipment and you have a disposable one, try to use a disposable one. What about disinfection? It's very important part here. Why? Because the regular quaternary ammonium product will not work like it works with other MDR. For example, if you have MRSA is MDR, and Candida auris is MDR. The regular ammonium product will work well with MRSA, but it doesn't with Candida auris. While the product of choice is the chlorine-based disinfectant. It works well with everything. So you need to use this one, which is the optimal choice. For sure, we need to follow the instruction from the colleagues in antibiotic stewardship. And if you face cases of Candida auris, like let's say outbreak, please, first of all, you need to notify the infection control, a strict contact precaution, and you should screen for colonization. And if you have a colonized one, you should decolonize with a chlorhexidine bath. Terminal cleaning is essential. And finally, if everything failed, just close the unit. Ministry of Health, thankfully, they did Candida auris prevention strategies. I advise all of you to read it. It's good. And I will conclude with this. If you have patient with Candida auris colonization, should you treat? The answer is no, don't treat. If you have patient with Candida auris colonization and want to be admitted in the hospital, what you should do, first of all, single room isolation, and then a strict standard and contact precaution, emphasize the hand hygiene everywhere, and try to clean the area or the environment around the patient continuously, and try to do some communication inside the facility, announce that we have a Candida auris cases, try to containment this outbreak. Also, you should screen the close contact of the patient and continuously do the surveillance. And with that, I will conclude.